Hello everyone, hope all of you are keeping safe. Welcome to another edition of Tech Talks with NASSCOM Insights. I am Diksha Nerurkar, Research Practice Lead at NASSCOM, and today I am joined by Mr. DP Nambiar, DP for short, who is Vice President and Head of Human Resources, Service Lines and Corporate Functions at TCS. To introduce DP, he is an alumnus of the Madras School of Social Work and has been with TCS for over 2.5 decades. He has worked in India, North America, and Europe with his experience encompassing a wide spectrum of areas around HR. Since early 2020, he is leading the integrated HR organization for TCS's service lines and corporate functions. DP is known for his strong business connect, relationship skills, and leadership ability. DP, Shakespeare had said, "Come at the hour, come at the man." You seem to have taken over the mantle at a very, very critical time for any company.
Yeah, well, Diksha, sometimes, you don't know what you're asking for when you get into something. So it's one of those things. But I must also say that, to what, a job if there are no challenges? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
there need to be challenges for you to actually get your creativity going and to see how to make things happen, right? So it's and Diksha, thank you for having me here. It's wonderful to be here.
Welcome to the show, DP. It is great to have you here. So in this conversation, we are going to focus largely on skills and specifically cloud computing skills. And we'll be launching our report, Cloud Skills Powering India's Digital DNA. So before we begin our conversation, DP, I want to give the audience just an overview of this report. So cloud computing has been going on for over a decade, but the pace has been fairly slow and long drawn. However, COVID-19 has changed all of that. As the pandemic caused a global lockdown, businesses have been forced to shift online almost overnight, and that is powered by the cloud, and that has enabled them to work in a remote environment. So to an extent, we can say that the pandemic has been a catalyst for digital transformation. And the foundation on which the transformation will be successful is going to be cloud computing. According to one of our recent research reports, that is the future of technology services winning in this decade, by 2030, the global cloud opportunity is estimated at around $800 billion. And for India to grab a big share of this opportunity and also to position itself as the world's cloud solutions hub, it is imperative to get our skilling right. And who better to talk about the importance of skills than DP himself? So DP, to start off, my first question to you is, can you give us an overview of TCS's cloud business in the context of the 2020 announcement, right, where you kind of split your cloud business into 3 dedicated units for each of the hyperscalers, and what has been the effect of that on your overall talent landscape and talent strategy?
Sure, Diksha. So Diksha, TCS has, so we have, I mean, we are talking about cloud today, but whatever you look at, any of the technology areas that you see, we have tried always to sort of ensure that we stay abreast and if possible ahead of what the demand is. So from that perspective, we were one of the first companies to identify the need for focus on cloud skills. And what we did is we began by establishing centers of excellence within our service lines. We call it the Business and Technology Services Group. Those are the service lines, and that constitutes a large, component of the organization. And it is like the cradle for all things technology in the organization. So we essentially started off by setting up these centers of excellence, and the Olympics just got over. So if I may do a comparison, so it's like preparing for the Olympics. It's like one of those villages where you train people up prior to the Olympics. So BNTS is a little bit like that, where we identify bright talent from across TCS, coach them and groom them in technologies and the skills of the future. And that's exactly what we have done with the cloud skills. We did this with digital, and earlier with ERP when that was it, and that's what we have been doing there. So while the announcement happened in 2020, a little ahead of that, we had already been working on identifying the right set of leaders, looking at what kind of what kind of market sentiment exists, trying to understand from a movement of the market and technology perspective, what is it that we need to prepare towards? What are the right workforce models that we need to have and the strategies for the cloud units? So that was one part of it. The other thing was, of course, to touched upon identifying the right talent from within the company and focus on skilling and certification. So we actually got into partnership with some of the leading the cloud organizations, so to speak. So which is where you have those three distinct hyperscaler units that we spoke about. And what we have been doing is we have been encouraging our people to come on board, learn, get certified, and thereby it's a win-win for them because they get honed with the specialization and the specific skills that are required. We encourage them to sort of work on proof of concept kind of things, look at what kind of unique offerings are there. We encourage them to participate in forums, industry forums that may be there, forums with our specific cloud partner, and thereby sort of ensure that the learning is strong and also creativity also is sort of coming in there. So overall, if I would say, it was all about creating the right ecosystem within TCS for each of these hyperscaler units and encouraging talent to move from the traditional typical areas of work to look at this, to come on board, to get, take up the opportunity to get certified, look at working with each of these cloud units and our partner organizations, whether it was, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, to strengthen the value that we can create together. And that has been the focus for us. And like I said, it started a little ahead of that announcement. I mean, it was, we didn't wait for that announcement. We had actually got that up and running prior to that itself.
Thanks, DP. And you actually touch upon a very important point where you talk about being prepared, right, for the changes that could happen in the future. And you also have the business and technology services unit that seems to be the foundation for all your skill building activities, right? So one of the things about technology is like it is looking more and more like the fashion industry where it keeps changing every 6 months. So in that context, can you specifically talk about, from a cloud perspective, how has TCS been identifying future skills? Basically, the idea is to keep 2 steps ahead of the demand, right? So how are you doing that, and how are you building the bridging the demand supply gap? Some of the best practices that you follow that be key takeaways for the broader industry also.
Sure. I'll certainly make an attempt to address this, Diksha. So, see, at TCS, we've always believed, that our strength and what we keep building on is the trust that we have with our customers, our ability to have a deep appreciation of their business context, and thereby then partner with them to provide the right solutions for them. And from that perspective, the BNTS, the Business and Technology Services Group, is focused primarily on, like I said, being the cradle for all technology. At the same time, we have what we call the industry, verticals, the industry service units, and they are working very closely with customer segments in various domains. And the advantage of that model is we are able to very quickly and on time, let me say, or get an appreciation of what is the thought process in the market. What is the market looking at? What are we moving towards? What kind of competencies and skills are are going to become relevant? What do we need to focus on with respect to building the skill base for our people? So that is, I think, very key in terms of our ability to sort of get that information on time, and then to try and build on that. So, and if you ask for best practices, I would say the ability to sort of keep our ears to the ground and quickly understand what is out there, the close connect we have with our customers and the business environment we operate in, all of that helps. And then the partnership we have with cloud organizations, the ability for us to sort of get a significant proportion of our talent pool to look at this, to see that as an important option for them to come in and upskill themselves. And we have a wide variety of programs which are, which encourage this. So we have something called Elevate, and this is a program where while people work on some certain technology in a certain active project, they can actually in parallel upskill themselves on other technologies, and they get rewarded for that. They get encouraged and they get rewarded for that. There are multiple programs that are that are out there to upskill our associates. We have the Knowledge Academy for the various cloud areas, which again encourage people to sort of get to understand what is going on. We are also reaching out into the campuses. So I think it's public knowledge that we are the largest recruiters of campus talent in this country. And what we do is we actually have a huge outreach program where we reach out to the campuses, to reach out to students there, and give them a good orientation of what cloud is all about. What are the key cloud competencies that one can look at, and also try and see how we can get them on board from a learning perspective, how we can support the entire drive that they may have to learn and to sort of get onto this bandwagon. So I think it's a combination of all of those things that actually comes in, which allows us to to sort of ensure that the right focus comes in, that we have the right number of people focused on it, and they are actually learning constantly. And it's part of the DNA of the organization. It's part of the DNA of the organization. We are in many ways, I would call, a learning organization, where the emphasis for people to constantly upgrade themselves, to constantly stay abreast of the latest that is happening from a technology perspective and also from a domain perspective, is something which is always out there. And I think that really helps us. Of course, there are specific skills that we are encouraging, and we are trying to build on, and I can get into that, if required.
Certainly, thanks, DP. So basically, you are saying that you are in constant communication with your, not just your customers, but also your sales and marketing team who have an idea of what projects, what would be the requirements. So there's a two-way communication constantly that is going on, and that is feeding back into your entire learning management system, if I can call it that.
Absolutely, Diksha, and I think it's important to appreciate, and I think most professionals doing the kind of job that I do will, in today's world, especially in our industry, in the information industry, information technology industry, the talent development or learning and development, whatever you call it, and the HR arm is like a business function. It is not a facilitation or a support function. It is like a business function, and you have to be constantly connected with the front line of business to know what is it that they need, what is the ask from a tomorrow perspective, not from a today perspective, from a tomorrow perspective, so that proactively you can work on ensuring that you create those offerings and make that available for your people, so that they can take that up, they can upgrade themselves, upskill themselves, and then when the opportunity really materializes, you have the right talent available. Take it up.
Yeah, so basically future ready, that's the
Absolutely.
goal that you're talking. You also spoke about the continuous learning mindset. I'm going to come to that in another question. But one more question I had regarding, again, that same announcement about those 3 dedicated business units, right? The future is going to be hybrid cloud and multi-cloud. There's also this vertical cloud that is emerging, but for now we'll just talk about hybrid and multi-cloud. From your perspective, I have 2 questions. One is, how are you building these kind of skill sets where you can operate in across these 3 platforms and in such a complex cloud environment? And how do you expect to collaborate between the 3 dedicated business units, because there will be major overlaps?
True, absolutely. So, so let me put it this way. Okay, see, If I look at the customer landscape, most of our large customers have a hybrid cloud strategy, and this implies they will opt for a mix of private and public cloud, others for a multi-public cloud strategy. And it's essentially, you are de-risking essentially by doing that. And large-scale cloud transformations, are not just pure technology programs. They are there are business transformation that require skills that cut across domain and technology. And architects typically are the most critical people in any cloud transformation. And at TCS, we have really invested in creating that as a separate career path, so to speak. So there is a massive need for cloud consulting architects, cloud FinOps, governance SMEs, hybrid and multi-cloud platform management experts, cloud developers. So you name it. So obviously, that is what one is looking for. And so while the cloud specific units within TCS do create specializations and customized offerings, we also leverage our deep understanding of what the customer's business is all about, and we bring that to the table. So it's the merger of those two is what actually works for us, from that perspective. And to your other question, well, even when we look at the ERP environment, you did have the environment where you had multiple options that were available that were running in parallel. And we also today also with the cloud thing, you do have those multiple, at least three that one can immediately call out, and which are running in parallel. But then the way I see it is, it's a very wide, large market out there. And like I said, there are customers tend to sort of spread the risk. So they may look at multiple options. And even otherwise, the market itself is so large that there is enough opportunity for each of these to sort of grow and grow to its full potential. So from that perspective, I don't see that as a risk within the organization. To the question, how do we manage that within the organization? Well, it's see it ultimately, like I said, we have already got that experience previously in different technology areas of managing that, of multiple threads that are running, which are all ultimately essentially there are offerings which are available to our customers. So it's a question of looking at what is the priority at a point in time for a customer, and then making that available, or what is their option or choice that they want. But from our perspective, we are committed to partnering effectively with the cloud partners and also providing the best possible solutioning to our customer. And that is what drives the prioritization from our perspective. And like I mentioned earlier, I think the market is large enough for all of it to coexist and thrive. And it's not just about the large companies. There may be smaller companies which are specializing in just one or other of these areas, and there is enough out there even for them. I don't know if I answered your question, but
no, that's fine. So basically, you're saying there's something for everyone, and absolutely, depending on what you want to do, that and build the skills around that, around the cloud stack. That's what you're saying. And specialization is another question that I have that is going to be important for the future generations, but I'll come to that later. I want to now focus deeply on the softer side of skilling, right? Beyond technical skills. We live in times where there's an urgent need to build a continuous learning mindset. There's also an equally urgent need to be agile in terms of unlearning to relearn, right? And these are not easy habits to develop. So from your perspective, how do, whether they're individuals or at a company level, how do they build that culture of build to relearn? And what are some of the challenges that one needs to overcome to be that agile in this learning ecosystem?
Yeah, so Diksha, from my perspective, I think we are operating in an environment today. The business environment we operate in is one where if one needs to stay relevant, whether you are an individual in that environment, an individual professional, or whether you are an organization, if you need to stay relevant, you have to learn. You have to learn and you have to continuously upgrade yourselves, because otherwise you are not going to be relevant. And if you are not going to be relevant, somebody else is going to be relevant and you are going to miss out. You're going to lose out. As an individual, you're going to lose out opportunities. As an organization, you're going to lose out opportunities. So I think whether it's individuals or companies, one has to have the learning, sort of thing in your DNA. It's extremely important. And at TCS, I'm happy to say that, and I mentioned this earlier also, that we have over the more than 50 years that we have existed, we have very we have nurtured that as one of our clear values. Learning and sharing is a value for us, and it is something which is clearly in our DNA. And that's something which we are constantly working to encourage it. We are constantly working to ensure that people understand the need from their career perspective, from their career advancement perspective and growth perspective, the need for them to continuously learn, upgrade themselves, and move and do new things. And I mentioned earlier about the need to, people moving from more traditional areas into digital, cloud, and so on. So I think that becomes very important. Now, as an organization, one needs to provide the right environment. One needs to provide the right guidance to people. Individuals need to be guided towards improving their digital dexterity on top of core skills. And the organizations need to have the right mobility, internal mobility, fluidity, whatever you call it, strategy, to make sure that associates, they can utilize and sharpen their skills on a constant basis. And every project is seen as an opportunity to learn, but also to unlearn, because
Yep.
otherwise you get stuck, right? You've
Absolutely.
learned something, you're in a comfort zone, and you just want to get onto that, and then you want to stay there. So learn, but also unlearn, again learn and unlearn. And continuous learning requires removing all friction that tends to be present in the
Yeah.
traditional learning system,
Yeah.
okay, and
That's
processes. So what we try to do is to offer a curated learning journey, uh, personalized to the extent possible to associates. And I spoke about the Elevate. There are also other things that
yeah.
we are doing, and also to look at behavioral aspects, so that there are digital nudges to encourage them, to recognize them, so that they are constantly improving what we call the T factor. Because we strongly believe, that we would like our people to while we would like very much for them to be masters of some things, we would also like them to be, if I may use the term, knights in shining armor of all the adjacent things to that, and some other things also. So people need to be multi-skilled,
Yeah.
and everything we do is towards encouraging people toward. And I think that is also, like I mentioned, it's part of the DNA of the organization. So everything we do from a people perspective has an aspect which is encouraging and driving them towards taking up new things, learning, and I think that ensures, because at the end of the day, people are what make up the organization. The fact that we have that culture, the fact that our people are enthusiastic and open to constantly picking up new things and learning, uh, has played a huge part in TCS being where we are from a market perspective.
But it also, I was just wondering, it also helps at an individual level. If I'm, say, part of a company and let's say I'm in the cloud space and I want to shift to, let's say, the AI space or the blockchain space and build my specialization or expertise in that area, to be able to visualize that journey and also visualize what could it mean for me at at a company like a TCS or any other company. What direction will my long-term career path take? So I think even providing that visibility also will encourage people to motivate themselves to learn continuously.
Oh, absolutely, and I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely right. And so, like I said, the constant learning, unlearning, and again learning. So all of that is part of a journey, right? So
Yeah.
it's important that you put out there for people, the entire journey, that you tell them, okay, this is the career path that you have, and this is the way you can get from this point to this point. And and provide them, enable them. See, I think talent development, L&D as you call it, has moved in a large way for us, and I think also across the industry, from being prescriptive to actually being a subscription based thing, where you offer a menu of things and you also give people the right information about where the organization is moving, where the market is moving, where the demand is going to be, so that they then are, they on their own, they pick up from that menu the right things, they learn, and they are then, ready for the next big opportunity that comes in. So I think absolutely, like I said, I couldn't agree with you more. It's absolutely that's what it is.
Great to know that, Deepti. Just staying on a bit on in terms of the skilling aspects, one of the things that even students struggle with nowadays is things are changing so fast that should I specialize in maybe one or two things, or do I become a generalist? So that dilemma between being a specialist versus a generalist is what I wanted to know, because that will help people decide what they want to do. So do I, as either as a college student or just someone who is starting off on my career, focus on a broad set of skills that helps me stay agile, but also at the same time do a deep dive on a select set? How do you see that uh, emerging in the future? I mean, what trends do you see there, and what is your advice to the fresh talent that you know? Uh,
Sure. So Diksha, this is a question that one deals with all the time, right? So the reality is there is this sense among a lot of the younger talent now that they need to go in for specialization very early on in their careers. And while I'm not saying they shouldn't, what I would say is so we are living in a very fast moving technology environment, if one may say that, especially in our industry. It's a very fast moving technology environment. So it is important that people are on top of more than one thing at any point in time, because what will actually take precedence at any point in time is something which, while there you can predict to a certain extent, you cannot be really very sure, right? So if somebody is trying to, and I'm speaking, purely from the perspective of somebody trying to pursue a career, right? So when you're trying to make a career, one needs to have that ability to, and it goes back to something I just said some time back. While you can definitely groom yourself to become master of something, but you also need to be a knight of many other things, or a jack of all trades, so to speak. You also need to be a jack of many things and a master of some things. Without that, it becomes a problem. So at least at TCS, our view always has been that when people start their career, we try and give them as much exposure to multiple areas as possible. So that so in essence, if I were to use the terminology you're using, yes, we are trying to build them as generalists to begin with. So we try and give them that wide canvas of exposure from a technology perspective, to work in different things. Also from a domain perspective, where possible. So we try and give them that, so it's always, as a beginner, it's always, good for them to keep an open mind and gain maximum exposure to a variety of technology, to industry, clouds, applications, and then gradually find your forte, find what you really would like to focus on and, specialize in. And also the other point is, the word generalist can be looked at in many ways. So, what is a generalist? So, a generalist can also be someone who specializes in a specific area while possessing a wide range of adjacent digital skills. So, so I would say all professionals must must be generalists at one plane and can then build and become specialists in at a different plane. And this can also happen in parallel. You can be generalist in many things, but you can be a specialist on something, and that comes back to
yeah.
that jack of many trades, master of some, thing. But I think that's what is the need of the hour right now. To get, definitely there are areas where one can be extremely specialized from day one. But as a general rule, when you look at the talent market out there and what this direction business is taking, as a general rule, my opinion and my sort of suggestion to youngsters who are out there looking at a career here is not to confine themselves to just any one thing to begin with. To have an open mind, to look at multiple things, to try and experience multiple technologies. If you are in the IT industry, try and experience multiple technologies, multiple environment, and then find your forte.
Yeah, so that's actually a very good point, having that open mind and being open to experimentation, right? To figure out what is your interest or where you would like to specialize. So that will require a lot of experimentation. And that's the only time that you get to know what you want, right? And I think also if you are open-minded, it automatically gives you the agility to adapt to what is required in the future, whether it is staying on course or diverting temporarily or totally changing, right?
Absolutely.
It gives you that inner strength and that mindset to adapt to that. So DP, I think we are almost done. I have one final question. I want everybody to see what I call the other side of DP. So I have some very light questions for you.
Okay. I don't know if I need to get worried now.
No, I think very simple, straightforward questions. But what have you, in the last 1.5 years when we've all been locked down at home and working from home, what has the pandemic taught you? What are the new skills that you have developed? And not just the technical skills, but any other skills?
Yeah, so I think to begin with, on a lighter note, I have learned how to stay focused on the job despite everything that's happening around me. So now, of course, we are back in the office, but for a large part of the pandemic, we were not, and we were operating from our homes. And if you have very active, young, growing children like I have, and who also have to operate from home because schools are not there. So then one learns to sort of adapt, and the kind of learning there has been immense to learn to do that. But on a more serious note, I think it's the fact that and yeah, I'm probably touching on the philosophy here, but it's the fact that we can be very resilient. If I just looked at my organization, so we were an organization that operated for 50 years in a model where people came into work every day, and and then the pandemic happened, and within 4 weeks, with our kind of numbers, within 4 weeks, we had over 97, 95, 96% of our people operating from home, and everything that needed to be done to enable that, we were able to enable. And our people, they were able to adapt, they were able to actually make that a success, and of course, whatever enablement the organization needed to, we did. But I think what the key thing that came through for me there was the resilience of humans, our ability to sort of find a solution and surmount everything. And that translates then to the organization, because an organization is ultimately a set of people with a common objective, right? So it's all people. So I think that resilience part is something which, while one always thought it is probably there, but this was an outstanding example. And I just gave an example from my industry, I mean our industry. But if you look in all walks of life, you would have found that during the pandemic, the kind of resilience that one saw. And there were so many things that happened, some very tragic things that happened. But ultimately, the resilience is something which I would say is, it left an impact on me. Let me say that.
Okay. So how in these tough times did you de-stress, DP? Movies, books, gardening. I've heard a lot of people take up photography. Gardening is one thing that I keep everybody saying, and it is a good de-stressor. So what is it that you have been doing when you're not working or not, you're wearing your technology hat?
So again, on a lighter note, when did we not work? Okay, but
That is a good one.
work from home has lot of cringe
Yeah. Yeah.
aspects to it.
That's true.
But having said that, well, I do have a keen interest to read. So I've always so the only alternate career, the option that I would have ever looked at was to be in the army. To be
You
an army
mentioned.
officer. And so from that perspective, I still hold a very deep interest in all things to do with the military, and also in history, especially strategy and history from that perspective, military history, to so to speak. So uh, I have tried to sort of catch up on my reading over there.
Excellent.
The other thing is, of course, see, I think uh, this is true for all of us. In the modern world, the kind of lives we all lead, there are. I think there is enough and more stress that comes our way,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
the only mantra that I have is never miss an opportunity to see humor and laugh.
Mm.
It's very important to do that, okay?
Yeah.
And so never miss that opportunity. It's very good to have a funny bone, and
Yeah.
to
I've heard
see
a lot about your funny
humor.
bone.
So I think that's and to me that is probably the greatest de-stressor. So
Right.
the ability to see that, and to
Right.
see the lighter side of many things, and not allow you know not allow something to sort of really take things in balance, right? There will be good things that happen, and there will be not so good things that happen. Take
Yeah.
it in balance, and keep smiling. I think that's important. I personally strongly believe in that.
Last point is any life-changing event that you've experienced that has made you look at life totally differently, and this is independent of what we've seen in the pandemic. Something.
So definitely from the pandemic there is something, okay, and which is one comes to realize how fragile life itself is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and especially an organization at our scale, and in the HR function, one gets to see at very close quarters the kind of challenges people faced. So that definitely. But beyond that, I would say, I, I would say one, in my personal case, there was a different career that I had a long time back, years back, looked at. I did mention it about the army, and that couldn't, it didn't work out. At that point, at a very fragile age, I think it was very crushing for me that it didn't work out. But then I think the learning from there for me was the need to be resilient, so to speak, and the fact that every time you see a decline in something that you wanted to do, remember that it will also go up after that, and
Yeah.
things will pick up, and I've it has that belief has touchwood has not failed me up till now. The fact that okay, there will always be something positive after something that is not so positive,
Yeah.
and I think philosophically, if one can live by that, and smile, like I said, that really helps. That really helps, especially in the kind of pressures that we all operate in the modern world.
Yeah.
I think it helps. I don't know if it's life changing, so to speak, but then I think it's something which influences, and it has influenced me. Let me put it that way.
No, that's great to know, DP, I think, and thank you very much. I'm done with almost most of my questions. Thank you for taking the time out of your, huge vaccination drive to talk to us, and lots of takeaways for everybody. I want to thank your team also for helping arrange this. Uh, for the audience, just one point is this is do please visit our website www.nasscom.in, and also remember to download our report, Cloud Skills, Powering India's Digital DNA. Thank you once again, and stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Diksha, for the opportunity.